Hello, everyone. This is Kerwin, and welcome to Travel Talk. My photo today, it's the first class cabin of an American Airlines. I think it's a 737-800 on one of my flights that I took. Uh, Today, we're going to talk about switching seats. I've been on many flights, many flights, and people want to switch seats. And now, sometimes there are valid reasons to switch seats, right? Uh, Sometimes. But for the most part, there really isn't any reason to switch seats. Um, all right. So let's look at an example. You're on the upgrade list, and then so you're on your traveling companions on the upgrade list, and you're both sitting together in economy, and you get an upgrade. But when you get the upgrade, you're not sitting together anymore. So one person is in, say, 4F, which is that seat right in the back there over my right side. So there, that would be 4F. And the other person is sitting over here, for example, in 2B. So you want to sit together, and you think that you should go disturb the person at 4D, 4C. Sorry, that's 4D, or 4E, depending on the aircraft you're on. Or the person who's sitting at 2A, which is over there. I would be terrible at a weather guy, right? Because after when left is right, right is left. And oddly enough, I had to study meteorology in my early college days. So you're going to go disturb these people just because you and the person you're traveling with want to sit together. You know what? If you want to sit together, you should stay in economy. Let somebody else take the upgrade. Because it is not fair for you to go disrupt somebody else and ask them to move. It's just not fair. Especially if sometimes you may have aisle and aisle, so you're sitting behind each other, and you want somebody to give up a window or give up an aisle or whatever the thing is. Now, when I travel, I specifically pick my seats. So if I don't do the bulkheads because I just don't. I need to stretch my legs out, and typically in most bulkheads you can't. And so I try not to pick the bulkhead. So, and then I want to sit. Usually, I'm a 4A or 4F kind of person, and if that's not available, then I go for the row in front of that. Luckily, I've not been upgraded to a bulkhead just yet, or even if I am, I'm fortunate enough to switch it to something else. So, but don't ask people to switch. I don't think you have the right to ask somebody to switch their seats. And people do it because when you ask someone to switch their seat, they'll do it because they're feeling nice, or you make them feel so guilty. You're in a cabin with 18 other people, and somebody comes up to you and go, "Oh, would you mind if my wife and I sit together?" And a person's like, I actually do mind, but okay, here. Because the rest of the flight, you're just gonna have people looking at, oh my God, that guy over there, he really should have switched. I can't believe he didn't switch with that guy so he could sit next to his wife or child or whatever it is. But that's not my meaning the passenger's thing. It's your thing, right? I did my thing and I got my seats. I know you got upgraded, but that's not my consideration. Now, if you're not in first class, sometimes people do that anyway, where they couldn't get to sit there. They're both in first class, but they couldn't get to sit next to each other. And so when a person shows up, they ask them to switch. Some people even have the audacity to sit in the wrong, and I say audacity because it is. They sit in the wrong seat, and then when you come for your seat, they're like, "Oh, can you go sit over there?" that's my seat and I want to sit next to my husband or sit next to my wife. No. One, you're supposed to ask me first and let me decline. Or two, you're not supposed to ask me in the first place. Come on. Now, in economy class, it's a little different. Probably the same, but you really shouldn't ask. However, I carefully selected my seat. Extra legroom. It was the bulkhead, which is right behind that American Airlines sign, right there. It was right behind that. And I think I had the aisle because I couldn't, the window wasn't available. And this lady, this elderly lady, she wanted to sit by the window. She had the aisle, but she wanted a window. And the only reason why I switched with her is that I thought of my mother. And I said, well, my mother was in the same situation. And the flight attendant was nice. He's like, she just I think she had a funeral in a country that she was going to. And where we were coming from Miami, she had gone to another funeral. So she had like a double family whammy going on. And she was an older lady. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll switch with her. Although I did carefully select my window seat because I wanted to take photos and stuff of the window. But sometimes, it's a case by case thing. If you're like, oh, the happy honeymoon couple who wants to sit together, no. Because you know what? Here's the thing. In economy class, you pay for the seats. Just like first class, you pay for the first class seats as well. But there are some seats in the economy that doesn't have extra legroom. And so people will go, oh, I'm sitting back here in the middle seat and I want to sit next to my wife. So let me do that. No, I wasn't if it works out. So like I was on a flight and I was sitting next to this gentleman and he had the middle seat. And then his wife, I think his wife had the seat in front of me and she had the aisle and their middle was empty. And so in this instance, it actually made, and I think the girl at the window moved. It made sense that, I had moved, I forget what it was, but in any case, I was in a row by myself and he and his wife was sitting together behind me. He had the middle and the wife had the aisle. And then in front of me, I had the window and there was nobody at the window of the aisle. And I said, why don't you guys take the row and I'll sit here at the aisle so you can be together. But when people ask you to give up your seat, and half of the time it's because they didn't want to pay to get the seat that they wanted, right? They were like, oh, when we get on board, we'll ask. Or sometimes the gate agent may say, why don't you ask when you get on board? Because the gate agent they're in such a bad position. They can't change. Sometimes they will make an announcement and say, and if they see someone come, they'll say, hey, do you mind if I move you to a different seat so I can put a family together? And people are like, yeah, that's fine. But don't make it a habit. If you want to sit a particular place in the airplane, please sit there. Pay to sit there because that's how it works. Don't go, oh, the airline mixed up my seat. No, they didn't. And by the way, when you talk about seat assignments, your seat assignment is never guaranteed. If you look at something called the contract of carriage for the airline that you're flying, they tell you that. And so they're not obligated to give you anything if they move their seat. Normally the airlines will because, they want to be nice. But they're not obligated because the contract card says they don't have to. And that's what you signed when you get on that flight. I'm not telling you this to be malice or malicious, but I'm telling you this so you know what the rules are of the ticket that you bought. And if you want to sit somewhere, pay for it. Don't yell at the person next to you. And if somebody says no, respect the fact that they said no and move on. Right? It's not their fault that you and your family have middle seats because you bought a cheap ticket. That's typically what it boils down to. If you had paid a proper price for your ticket, including seat assignments, or if you're legal, if you're elite, if you had elite status, then you could pick your seats at no cost. And that's the other thing too, is that you have to remember that the airlines give you different levels. Sometimes, like in the video I did about economy seats, which I put the link in this description to it, you could pay for the seat. The difference is like $35 between the two seats, between the cost of economy, basic economy, and the next fare up. And the next fare up allows you to pick a seat. So for $35, you could have picked the seat, but you were like, no, I want to see what happens. Now, I gamble when I travel with low cost carriers. I'm like, I don't really want to pay. Sometimes it's $5, but out of principle, I don't want to pay extra. So, and I want to take low cost carriers when it's what's available on that particular flight or day or destination, and they're the only ones that fly to where I want to go, or they're the best schedules or something like that, and so I have to take them. But when I do, if I want a particular seat, I pay for it. If I want to roll the dice, I roll the dice. And 8 times out of 10, I actually get a window seat. But sometimes I get a middle. And then the flight is full and I can't move. So, I roll the dice and I lost. And I think people should bear that in mind whenever they do this kind of, hey, would you mind if no, I actually do mind. No, I'm not moving. And then if somebody tells you no, don't be upset with the person. Now, again, if it's an elderly person, it's like a mom with a baby, which is really weird because if you have your child, you should really book seats together with your child. And don't say it's the airline fault, because it's not. Everybody had the choice to pick a seat. You chose not to. And now you're creating a problem on day of departure, right? You're inconveniencing somebody else so you can be happy. Don't do that. If you're mad at me now, leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Because this is normally a topic that people get really upset about. But leave a note, let me know what you think about swapping your seat for somebody else or asking somebody to swap your seat. And maybe you have a story about you've asked somebody or you've been asked, and what did you do? Leave a note and let me know. This is Karan with Travel Talk. Have a good flight, and hopefully you won't have to swap your seat. Talk to you soon.